Welcome to For the Common Good with Juanita, a show where we inform, inspire, and empower our businesses, communities, and people just like you. So whether you are starting a new business or expanding your existing business, or whether or not you want to help a community to thrive, or simply want to help yourself and your family, we've got something for you. I'm really excited about the show today because we're talking about a really important topic. We're talking about digital marketing, social media, graphic design. Now, if you're not in that space, shame on you, especially if you have a business. You have to be, because so much happens on the internet. And so we have a perfect guest today to talk to us about that. Veronica Stalling, who is CEO of Graphic Creations LLC. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Veronica assists her clients in this new digital age with graphics, social media marketing, management, advertising. She also does photography. She has a cosmetic product also that will be coming out. And she says she manages her church's social media outlet. She's a missionary, a Christian, currently attending ODU, which is in Norfolk, and she has 3 brothers. Help me welcome her to the show. Welcome to the show, Veronica.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. Wow. We are talking about such an important topic when we are talking about marketing, the digital age, and social media. So I wanted to ask you, first of all, about the business, because you started this business. And lots of people talk about starting a business, but very few people actually start a business. And you started this business. So what was the motivation behind that?
God.
Absolutely.
God was the one that gave me the leverage to do it, because at that time, as you know, I've told you before, I was sick. So it pretty much came from out of nowhere. But because I had already had the experience, I was familiar with it. And a young lady had spoke to me and said, you know, you can make money off of this. And so I went forward with that. And I started Graphic Creations. I didn't know photography was going to be in it. I didn't know all this other stuff was going to be in it. But it all came together. And he just gave me the nudge that I needed to go ahead and go forth with it.
That's quite a journey there, and a brave one, because like I said, many people talk about starting a business, but very few actually do. What about the support for that from your family?
I have a lot of support. Yeah, my family is 100% behind me. Always have been. They were just waiting for me to go forward with it. So yeah, they gave me that 100% support.
Wow.
It's really great.
Wow, that's amazing. We're also talking about digital marketing today. So tell us a little bit about marketing. I mean, when we think of marketing, you know, lots of things come to mind. But what are you talking about? Marketing in the digital age is different.
For me, what I've learned so far as marketing is marketing your brand, marketing your business. You're pretty much advertising it. Any type of business that you have going on, a lot of people are using digital marketing, especially when COVID came about. Everybody was doing everything from home. And so people that were already doing digital marketing, people that were not, they jumped on board, because that is a way to reach people all over the world globally, you know. So you're just pretty much advertising your business, putting your business out there, putting your brand out there on the digital market, social media outlets, email, on the internet, YouTube, wherever there's an outlet, TikTok, everybody's using, and that's pretty much digital marketing.
You know, it's really interesting, because I was listening to an executive on LinkedIn, and what you said is that prior to the pandemic, prior to COVID, on LinkedIn, you'd have like one, you know, out of over 200 kinds of hits where someone would actually get a job or get an opportunity. But during the pandemic, she saw that change to 1 out of every 7 or 8. I mean, it's that much of a difference with people being on internet trying to pursue opportunities.
It's gone through the roof. And people, I thought TikTok was just the young adults dancing on there, but I got on there and I'm like, wow, so many job opportunities, so many, companies are using that outlet to employ people.
I'm not sure what it is now, but I did hear a statistic some time ago that said 40% of revenue for many of the businesses now coming from some type of, digital kind of access. Wow. So you also do graphic design?
I do.
Oh, what is that like? What is that?
Just designing graphics for a company. Say, for instance, I do a graphic for you. Whatever like your logo or your brand is about, we come up with a graphic for that. Some people use their face and just put a picture behind it, a higher rating, and it also has a lot to do with the fonts that you use, the color that you use. So what we try to do, whatever it is that you like, we put that on the graphic. We represent who you are, who your company is, and that's how you begin the graphic.
So you probably talk to, the owners, the company, to find out a little bit about them, the personality, in order to get that theme or the colors.
Exactly. I go all the way, what are your favorite colors?
Oh,
what
really?
do you like? What do you want to wear? Is this professional? Is this, So it's about getting to know your client, what they like and what they don't like, the colors they like. People think it's minute, but it really isn't, because it does make a big difference.
So every level of detail goes into that.
Included, yeah. Because when you present that graphic to that person, you want to make sure it represents who they are, who their business is.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Very important, though.
Yeah.
Wow, this is really, really exciting. We're talking about something that we really, really, it's there's so much information out there, but you want to make sure that you get the attention of your audience. And so all of these things help you get the attention of the audience and customize it and brand it so that it gets the traction that it needs. We're going to hear more from Veronica when we come back from break. We're going to take a short break now, and we'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back to For the Common Good with Juanita. And I've been talking to Veronica Stalling, who's CEO of Graphic Creations, LLC. And we're talking about digital marketing, social media, and graphic design. Very important topics in this age of the digital marketing. But Veronica has a personal story, a testimony. And I want you to share, if you don't mind sharing,
Absolutely.
Veronica, your story.
Okay, about, I believe it was 2020, I was working at Riverside Pulmonary as an office assistant, and my fingers started to go numb. I couldn't feel the keyboards anymore. And I ended up going to see a ortho, and he told me I need to see a neuro. And I went to him, and he said the bone in my neck was deteriorating. So I ended up having to get a cervical disc fusion replacement like 2 weeks later. And I was in the hospital. They sent me home the next day because it was like an hour, 45-minute surgery. It was really short. But when I woke up the next morning, I couldn't catch my breath for some reason. I didn't know what maybe it was just a little too hot. So I went out on the balcony and tried to get some air. I couldn't get any air, enough air. I started to feel dizzy. My mom said, "You want me to call the ambulance?" I'm like, "Yes, please." So at this time, my heart is like, it was almost as though I was hearing it. And so she ended up calling the ambulance, and they came and they took my, my heart rate and everything. Everything in my body was normal, but my heart was beating at a 308.
Oh my gosh.
And he said,
oh my gosh.
And he looked at me, I was like, "What's wrong?" And he was like, "Well, your heart is at a 308. And he said, "We need to slow it down." I'm like, "Okay, so what is it I need to do?" He said, "We need to stop your heart." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "You stop my heart." And I was like, so you're saying I'm just going to die and just come back? And he was like, well, it's not like that. I said, it is like that. And he was like, well, we're going to give you, it's a liquid that they give you that stops your heart, restarts it in 6 seconds. So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at my mom like I may see her for the last time, and my cousin was there. Mm-hmm. And so he braced me for it. He counted it out and he said, it's going to feel like an elephant sat on your chest. Literally, it's what it felt like. And I remember he said, okay, here it comes. And I was out. So I came back, I was happy, and he was like talking, he was like, okay, everything is great, your heart went down, and then it shot right back up. I think the first time it was at a 280, this time it was like at a 308, and he said, we're gonna have to do it again, and here I am crying, because I knew what it felt. It wasn't painful, just a discomfort of, when people say, I watched her take her last breath, that's what it, I literally felt like what people were saying, and so, he didn't tell me this time, but they had to give me a double dose. And so I was out, I guess, a little longer because when I was coming to, he was, Veronica, are you okay? Veronica, come back. And I'm like, God, just take a little bit too long? And he was just screaming, Veronica, come back, please come back. And I finally came to, and he told me when I got in the ambulance that they had to give me a double dose, because the first dose didn't work, so they had to do it again. And so I was on Eliquis blood thinners for 3 months. I was cleared September 28th, but then like a month later, my heart rate started going back up again, and I would pass out at the drop of a dime. The last time I passed out, I was in my mother's room, and I was disoriented because I was asking her, should I go to the hospital? She was like, yeah, I think so. And she wasn't catching on what I was saying either. And I was like, yeah, I think so. And before I could walk out her room, I had collapsed and hit her door. And she called an ambulance, and they had to do a CT scan and found out that after they did all these x-rays and stuff, I had a SVT, irregular heartbeat. And so they scheduled me a week later to do a heart ablation surgery. And so, God, it's just awesome. They scheduled the surgery. It went well. They go through your pelvic area and come down on top of your heart. When I woke up in the room, my doctor, he didn't come that day, but the next day he came in and he was just looking at me strange. And I'm like, what is wrong? What else have they found? I'm like, I'm so tired. My body was so tired. I mean, it was so tired. And he said, how are you feeling? I'm like, I feel great. And he was like, okay. He was like, well, and I was like, what is wrong? And he was like, oh, there's nothing wrong. And I was like, well, what's going on? What's the well for it? And he was like, well, when we went in there, what was on the ultrasound was no longer there. He was like, it was gone. It was clear. And I was like, and I just smiled because my faith in God is like through the roof. So I looked at him and I just smiled, and he's like, so since we were already in there, it was as though God went in there and did what he needed to do. He knew that they had to come in behind him, so he left them a little something to do, like crumbs to clean up or whatever, because that's pretty much how he explained it to me. And he said, so we went in there and just cleaned up the rest of what was left over. And I was like, oh, okay, that's awesome, but I knew it was God. But the next year, February, I had got COVID, so that set me back. And then I ended up getting another, what am I talking about, blood clot in October of last year. So they had to put me on
blood thinners
for the rest of my life, because they said it came from out of nowhere. But now I'm seeing when I went to go see my yearly with my cardiologist, she wants to know where did it come from? How did this happen? And so now I have to wear a heart monitor for 30 days because she wants to track the heart palpitation, because I was still having those, because COVID really set me back.
Yeah, that does
so I have to wear a heart monitor for 30 days. They're going to do x-rays of my legs, and I have to see a hematologist now. So, but I know I'll be fine.
Wow.
I'm just glad I'm here.
Wow.
I really am.
What a
and
testimony.
I smile every day. Someone say, how are you doing this? Like, I know people are just sick of me. Oh, God did this.
I'm blessed. I am blessed.
I am blessed. How are you? I'm great. Like, people just don't know.
You take one day at a time.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. It was a lot. My body was, I remember I was telling my pastor, and I was like, but I was so tired. But I was still going. And in the midst of all of this, God was still blessing me. Like today, again, you know.
You have a purpose.
I do. And I'm excited. I'm super excited.
But the
really
fact that
am.
the EMTs that came there to help you when your heartbeat was so high, I mean, what they went through, they were good.
Let me tell you, when people tell you that they know that God encamped angels around them, believe them. Because that's what it felt like. Because they were so, you know, you're doing your job, it's what you do. You have to have a heart for that anyway. But they were giving me a little bit more than what their job required. And so when I was done, I went to go visit them. I wanted to buy them. Yeah, I went to the fire station.
Oh, wow.
And because I wanted to personally thank them for what they had done. He was like, no, you know, it's our job. I'm like, whatever, you saved my life. That's what you did. Yeah, and I was like, can I buy your lunch? No, we can't do that. We're not allowed. You know, and I was like, what if I just sneak it to you guys? He was like, no. So, but yeah, I wanted to thank them for that, because if it had not been for them, God using them.
It's at the right people at the right time.
Yeah.
They knew.
Yeah, and it was a lot of them.
It was more than just a job.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
You know, they hooked me up to IV and everything while I was sitting in a chair, and it's like, you know how I say this all the time, you're in the middle of the street and traffic is going.
Right.
That's how I was. I was sitting there and I could just see everybody just moving around. Just the fuss of it all, you know. But it was awesome. It is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Thank you.
What a testimony. Well, thank you so much for sharing that testimony.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People say, hey, yeah, I would tell that story.
Yeah.
Because I'm thankful. I'm very thankful to God.
Well, tell your story, because it certainly blesses a lot of people who are going through some things right now.
Yeah,
don't ever give up.
So much.
Don't ever give
don't
up.
ever give up. Don't ever. And I say this all the time. Do not ever give up.
I keep my angels pretty busy too.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm doing a lot of traveling.
Yeah. Like, I mean, bombard heaven. You got to. God said it, you know. So it's like, I know He's like, yes, child. What else? Like, what now?
Okay.
Just one more thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. I'm excited for what He has for me. Because when you ask me to come on, I'm like, you know, I'm not this, and that's a thing I think for a lot of women, not thinking that they're enough. You know, because when you go through so much and you're not being called on for certain things, or you feel like you're being overlooked for something, and it's like, okay, so I'm not good enough. But then when God steps in, if He says you're good enough, you're good enough. And I just take it, you know, from Him and keep on running.
On that note, we're going to go to break. Oh, wow. What a story. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back to For the Common Good with Juanita, and we've been talking to Veronica Stalin, who's CEO of Graphic Creations LLC, and she just shared a riveting testimony with us about her journey and her health, some of her health challenges and everything she went through. It's just an amazing story, but a story of faith. And so I want to talk to you, Veronica, about, because I know you also do photography as well. You just love these kinds of things. Tell us about photography, because that's how we met, actually, at an event, at a wedding event.
Yeah, she had, and I was just starting out, and I didn't really push it in the beginning because I was still like, God instilled in me, master what you're doing this first. Then you move on to the next. Because I was all over the place because He was showing me so much. And I wanted to do everything at one time, but He was like, sit down. You know, and so there was photography. I've always took pictures at church with my camera phone. And I've always loved capturing special moments with people. But photography came about, and it's really taken off this year. It was kind of slow last year, and then I was sick again last year. So it's like this year, it really has taken off. I've gotten to experience a lot, and I take nothing for granted. And I'm always appreciative of people calling on me, somebody who's an amateur still. Like I'm sitting here asking the camera guy, hey, what did you do this? I recently took pictures of 2 young ladies there in real estate. So that was my first time doing headshots.
Wow.
But she asked me, could I do it for her? And I'm like, yeah. She was like, have you did it before? I was like, yeah. I'm lying. I didn't do it before, but I did research to look at what is a headshot, specifically what is it that I needed to do.
You know, one of my mentors used to say to me, say yes and then figure it out.
And that's what I did. I don't turn down anything. You know, I'm not going to do anything, crazy, but it's like everything I do is an experience until I figure out what is it that I love freelance, but what is it, what's my specialty, what is it that I'm really, really great at.
Right.
And so it's like I'm kind of like all over the place, but I love it. I really do love it.
Yeah, you have a passion for it.
Yeah,
wow.
I really do love it.
And you have a new product coming out,
I
cosmetic product.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I have lip balm and lip scrub. I suppose I did that 2020. And it was the time when God said, wait, master this first. But the lip balm, it was a lip scrub at first. And then I was like, well, you can't have lip scrub without the lip balm, because you need that moisture afterwards. But it's all natural products. And the only reason why it's been delayed is because I'm doing so much research. And I'm trying to find a way where there's so many people allergic to peanuts. And so I want those people, and everything, like every oil is like made from some type of nut. And so it's like I'm trying to find that specific product that I can use for those people who are allergic to nuts. So I'm still researching everything, but prayerfully it'll be out before the end of the summer.
Well, that's exciting.
I'm excited.
Something totally different, but
Totally different.
There's a niche for that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I love it. Just, when you have something coming out, you really have to research what you're doing. You want to make sure that you cross your T's and dot your I's. I don't want to walk into something blind, not knowing what I'm doing. And I'm loving the walk with it. I'm loving learning about it. It's something totally different. I didn't see it coming, but my daughter had came home from Germany. She's in the military, and she had a lip scrub, and I put it on my lips, and it just crumbled. And then God was like, hey, you can do this. And then it was like more stuff he was showing me. I was like, man, so he's preparing the way, and I'm excited.
Wow.
I'm really excited. So.
Well, that's really exciting, that new journey. But you've got a lot of things going on. But I think the foundation of all of it seems to be your faith. So I want to circle back to that, because that's an inspiration for so many people, especially now, where we are now with so many things going on around the world. Now, that faith is really the foundation that really helps you to stay grounded. So I want to talk about that. If you were talking to someone now who may be going through a challenge or some difficulties, what would you say to that person?
Don't give up. Don't give up. When someone is going through something, you really cannot say, I know how you feel, because you really don't. You may have an experience familiar with them, but you really don't know someone's mental capacity. And so I will always tell them to lean on God. Have faith. Lean on Him. Really lean on Him. When He say give you His word, really lean on Him and give Him all that you have. And I know for me, it was hard at first. But when I went through what I went through in 2002, I had no choice but to, because I knew He would bring me through. So that's where my faith came from, and that's what I would tell anybody. Lean on God. Whatever you're going through, lean on God and talk to God. People think, I always say I'm a new Christian because I'm always learning about God. I'll never know Him fully. But to pick up a Bible, just to read a scripture, ask God to lead you to the verse or whatever, and that's where it stemmed from in my faith, because I have gotten bigger. So yes, I would tell them to just lean on God. Lean on God. Just lean on God. That's all you can do. Lean on Him. You can do anything. Instead of man, lean on God. You can go to your pastor, you can go to your deacon, or you can go to, ministers in your church. But even before you do that, pray about it. Ask God to lead you to someone who can talk to you about what you're going on. You can't hold it in. There's so many people committing suicide.
I know. And
So
young
many
people too.
yeah.
You know,
Especially in
the
the
Miss
Black
USA.
community. Yeah.
You know,
And in the
it's-
Black community, I think not all of us, but some of us don't want to talk about it because some people have labeled them crazy or
Yeah,
something
it's a
like
stigma.
that.
It's a stigma to
that's
talk
over
about
us.
it. You're
And-
seen as being weak.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the men.
Yeah.
You know, but you have to lean on God. You have
Yeah.
to.
Wow. Thank you, Veronica.
You're welcome.
And all the best to you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for listening to For the Common Good with Juanita. We'll see you next time.